In the war-torn landscape of 16th century Japan, a world of gold, steel, and absolute power, the most influential figure wasn't a warlord. He was a master of tea.
So, this is the story of two men on an inevitable collision course. On one side, you have Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the supreme ruler who unified Japan through force, a man who showed off his power with blinding extravagance. I mean, his whole ideal was a tea room literally covered in gold. And on the other side, his tea master, Sen no Rikyu, who found his own kind of dominance in the exact opposite, a severe, rustic simplicity, all summed up in a humble, mud-walled hut.
And their conflict, well, it brings up this profound question about what power even is. One man had armies, castles, the loyalty of every warlord in the land. The other had clay bowls, bamboo whisks, and an idea. And somehow, in the volatile world of feudal Japan, that idea turned out to be the bigger threat.
You see, Rikyu's power wasn't in armies, it was in ideas. He waged his war not on battlefields, but in the quiet, contained space of the tea room. His every single action, every ceremony, it all became a kind of political theater, shown through these legendary encounters that people still study today. A perfect example of how Rikyu operated is the famous Morning Glory incident. Hideyoshi, who just loved huge, grand displays, heard that his tea master had cultivated the most incredible garden of morning glories in all of Japan, just a sea of perfect blossoms. And so, of course, he demanded a private viewing. He was expecting a spectacle that was worthy of his rank.
Just try to imagine the shock, the sheer rage. The most powerful man in the entire country shows up expecting to be flattered with this explosion of color, and instead he's met with stark, deliberate emptiness. This wasn't just a mistake, it was an act of profound defiance. The garden was a void. Every single bloom gone.
So Hideyoshi, absolutely furious, is led into the dim light of the tea hut, and there, in a simple bamboo vase, was one flawless morning glory, glistening with dew. This was Rikyu's philosophy in action. It was a silent lesson, a quiet but powerful rebuke of excess. He was essentially telling the ruler of Japan that his obsession with more showed a shallow understanding of beauty. The real essence of everything could be found in one perfect, fleeting moment.
Now, the philosophy at the heart of this is Wabi-Sabi. It's rooted in Zen Buddhism, and it's all about finding beauty not in perfection, but in the natural cycle of growth and decay. In a country that had been exhausted by a century of non-stop war, this was a radical idea. Samurai lived with the reality of impermanence every single day. Rikyu gave them a way to not just accept it, but to find deep meaning and beauty in it. He didn't invent Wabi-Sabi, but you could say he weaponized it. He started promoting these humble, irregular, even cracked Japanese rakuware bowls over the flawless, symmetrical, and incredibly expensive Chinese porcelain that was the ultimate status symbol for the elite. He was literally rewriting the language of value itself. And through this, Rikyu became a dictator of taste, subtly chipping away at the very foundations of wealth and status that Hideyoshi's power was built on. He could pick up a simple, cracked bowl and declare it more valuable than a castle, and the samurai elite would believe it.
Rikyu's challenge wasn't just some abstract philosophy, though. No, he built it into the very architecture he designed. His most powerful political statement was, of all things, a doorway.
This idea led him to create the Nijiriguchi, which literally means a crawl-in entrance. It was built so low to the ground that no one, absolutely no one, could enter standing upright. It didn't matter if you were a simple merchant or the supreme ruler of the nation. To enter Rikyu's world, you had to shed your worldly status, get on your hands and knees, and humble yourself. It was his philosophy made physical.
The political genius of this is just brilliant when you break it down. Before you even got to the door, you as a samurai had to leave your two swords, the very soul and symbol of your class, outside. Then, the act of crawling itself was the great equalizer. Once you were inside the tea room, there was no lord and no vassal. There were only host and guest. In a society that was so rigidly hierarchical, creating a physical space of forced equality was a silent but direct threat to the whole established order. It was revolutionary.
Well, as Rikyu's influence grew, this silent conflict with Hideyoshi was just destined to boil over. The tension between the man of gold and the man of earth had reached its breaking point. Something had to give. One of them had to fall.
The act that finally sealed Rikyu's fate was one of just profound audacity. A wooden statue of Rikyu wearing sandals was placed on the second story of the main gate to the Daitokji temple. What this meant was that every important person, including Hideyoshi himself, had to physically walk underneath the feet of the tea master. In a culture so sensitive to hierarchy, this was a public, unbearable insult, and it gave Hideyoshi the official reason he needed to finally act.
But a lot of historians think the statue was just an excuse. Was the real crime that Rikyu's cultural authority had just become too great, that his power to declare a simple bamboo scoop priceless was a direct threat to Hideyoshi's own power? I mean, Hideyoshi controlled the nation's army, sure, but Rikyu was beginning to control its soul.
So, in 1591, Hideyoshi ordered Rikyu to commit seppuku, ritual suicide. But Rikyu, ever the master of performance, didn't face his end with pleas for mercy. No, he staged one last, perfect masterpiece.
He turned his own death into the ultimate expression of his art. He invited his closest disciples and served them tea with absolute calm and precision. He was in complete control, transforming a death sentence into a final, unforgettable performance of his ideals.
After the guests were done, he gave each of them a piece of his treasured collection as a keepsake. But he kept his own favorite tea bowl for himself, and he spoke these words, declaring the bowl was now forever tainted by its connection to his tragic fate. And then, he shattered it. He destroyed it to preserve its integrity, to deny his enemies the satisfaction of owning it as a trophy.
With his guests gone, leaving only a single witness, he wrote his death poem. He didn't write about sorrow or regret. No, he addressed the dagger itself, welcoming it as a tool for enlightenment. And with that verse, he took his own life, cementing his legacy not as a victim, but as a martyr to his own aesthetic.
So you have to ask, who really won? Hideyoshi got his opponent eliminated. He lived on as the ruler of Japan, but history remembers him as the brute who killed a master of art, and it's said that he even expressed deep regret later on. Rikyu died, but his philosophy, his vision of beauty called Wabi-Sabi, it outlived his executioner. It didn't just survive, it conquered Japan, and its principles continue to influence art, design, and thought all over the world today. Rikyu's story really forces us to think about where true, lasting power comes from. Is it in what we can build and control and show off? Or is it maybe found in what we're willing to let go of? In a world that's just saturated with noise and the constant chase for more, his life suggests that the ultimate power might just be found in a moment of perfect, meaningful silence.